The sun dipped below the horizon as James pulled their SUV into the long driveway of the secluded vacation home. Julie smiled, leaning back in her seat, while their teenage son TJ scrolled on his phone in the back. It was their first weekend getaway in months, and James had promised it would be perfect. Just the three of them. No distractions, no stress. The cabin was picturesque, nestled against a backdrop of towering pines and a tranquil lake. James unloaded the luggage while Julie explored the kitchen, humming softly. TJ claimed the loft bedroom, its large windows offering a panoramic view of the forest. Everything felt peaceful, idyllic even, but James couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Earlier at the gas station, he'd caught a glimpse of someone familiar, a face from his past. It couldn't have been Rex, he told himself. He'd left that life behind years ago. Still, unease gnawed at him as he double-checked the locks on the cabin doors. The next morning started quietly. James grilled breakfast on the deck while TJ skipped stones by the lake and Julie relaxed with a book. The day passed without incident, but as twilight fell, the serenity shattered. A loud crash came from the living room, followed by TJ's panicked voice. "Dad! Mom!" James and Julie rushed inside to find three masked men. One of them held TJ in a chokehold, a knife glinting against his neck. James froze, his heart pounding. "Long time no see, Jimmy," the largest of the masked men said, pulling off his balaclava. It was Rex, his eyes cold and calculating. "Didn't think I'd find you playing house in the woods." Julie's eyes darted to James. Confusion and terror etched on her face. "Who is this?" James ignored her, stepping forward. "Let my son go, Rex. This has nothing to do with him." Rex smirked. "Oh, but it does. You walked away, Jimmy. Left us high and dry without so much as a goodbye. And now you're gonna make it right? Give me your old supplier's name and location, and maybe we'll leave you and your pretty family intact." James clenched his fists. "That's not happening." Rex's smile faded. He nodded to his crew. "Tie him up. Put the kid in the back room. Let's see how long Daddy holds out." Bound to a chair, James's mind raced. He'd spent years burying his criminal past, building a better life for Julie and TJ, but now it had come crashing back, threatening everything. Julie sat beside him, her tear-streaked face a mix of fear and betrayal. "You have to tell me the truth, James," she whispered. "Who are these people? What did you do?" He hesitated, then spoke in a low voice. "I used to run drugs. I got out before it was too late. I didn't want this life for us." Julie's eyes widened, but before she could respond, one of Rex's men entered. "Boss wants to talk to you." James was dragged into the living room. Rex leaned against the fireplace, flipping a knife in his hand. "You've got 1 hour, Jimmy. Either you talk, or your boy... Well, accidents happen." James's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake," Rex laughed. "The only mistake was letting you walk away." Left alone, James began working the ropes around his wrists, his mind cycling through plans. He'd spent years avoiding violence, but now he had no choice. He had to protect his family. Breaking free, he moved silently through the house, using his knowledge of the layout to his advantage. In the kitchen, he grabbed a heavy frying pan and waited. When one of Rex's men entered, James struck him from behind, knocking him out cold. He took the man's knife and moved upstairs, where he'd heard TJ's muffled cries. Another of Rex's crew stood guard outside the door. James distracted him by throwing a vase down the hallway, then tackled him when he turned. A brief struggle ended with the man unconscious. Inside the room, TJ's face lit up when he saw his father. "Dad?" James cut his son's bindings. "Stay quiet and follow me." They crept downstairs where Julie waited. James handed her the knife. "Stay with TJ. Lock yourselves in the basement. I'll handle this. Julie started to protest, but the determination in James's eyes silenced her. She nodded, ushering TJ away. Rex stood on the deck, barking orders into his phone. James approached silently, grabbing a nearby shovel. He swung it hard, catching Rex off guard. The phone flew from his hand as he stumbled. "You think you can take me out and walk away again?" Rex snarled, drawing a gun. James lunged, grappling with Rex. They crashed through the deck railing, landing hard on the ground below. The gun skidded away. Rex recovered first, throwing a punch that sent James reeling. "You're out of practice, old friend," Rex sneered. James wiped blood from his lip and smirked. "Maybe, but I'm still smarter than you." He kicked sand into Rex's face, then tackled him, pinning him to the ground. Before Rex could react, James delivered a knockout blow. By the time the police arrived, summoned by a neighbor who'd heard the commotion, Rex and his crew were bound and unconscious. Julie and TJ emerged from the basement, shaken but unharmed. As the officers led the criminals away, Julie turned to James. "You have a lot to explain." James nodded. "I know, but first, I need to make sure you and TJ are safe." She studied him for a moment, then sighed. "We'll get through this, together." James pulled her into a hug, his eyes meeting TJ's over her shoulder. "I'll never let anything happen to you, either of you." As the family stood together, the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, promising a new beginning.